Welcome to this explainer on Module 4 of the ISO 2217 standard. We're going to explore why your physical facility and equipment are the absolute foundation of manufacturing compliance. You know, in the world of cosmetics, it's incredibly easy to get bogged down in paperwork and processes. But today, we're focusing on physical reality. Clauses 4 and 5 make it absolutely crystal clear. The physical design of your premises and equipment isn't just some background scenery for your operations. It's literally an active participant in preventing contamination.
Let's dive right in with a brilliant quote directly from our source material that perfectly captures this whole philosophy of physical space. You cannot patch a bad layout with extra SOPs. Now, standard operating procedures are vital, of course, but they're basically behavioral rules. If your physical facility is fundamentally flawed, like if your clean areas and dirty areas overlap, or your floors are just impossible to sanitize, no amount of written rules, extra cleaning steps, or warning signs will truly fix that problem. The physical space either actively supports your goals or it constantly undermines them.
The stakes here are super clear. A good layout is built from the ground up to support compliance. It naturally enforces an orderly flow of materials and personnel and inherently prevents contamination. On the flip side, a bad layout actively fights against you. It forces you to rely on clunky workarounds, demands a mountain of extra SOPs just to manage the spatial risks, and inevitably, it causes mix-ups. At the end of the day, design dictates behavior.
To tackle all of this, we've structured our explainer into 5 key areas. First up, the philosophy of space. 2, a factory floor walkthrough. 3, mastering equipment controls. 4, the cracked floor dilemma. And finally, number 5, top audit traps avoided.
Starting with Section 1, the philosophy of space.
Your physical space requires crystal clear zoning separation. Things like receiving, manufacturing, filling, and waste absolutely must have distinct separations. But it goes way beyond just drawing up floor plans. Take a look at cove joints. That means no sharp 90-degree angles where the floor meets the wall. Those sharp corners are notorious hiding spots for microbes, so they have to be smoothly curved. Plus, there can be absolutely no wood or porous materials in your production areas because they soak up bacteria and simply cannot be sanitized. And wrapping around all of this, your temperature and humidity have to be strictly, constantly controlled.
Moving on to Section 2, the factory floor walkthrough.
Imagine an auditor getting gowned up and escorted from the lobby. The very first thing they're looking for is unidirectional flow. They want to follow the flow of materials in one single direction, starting at the receiving bay, moving into the raw material quarantine, and then advancing to manufacturing suites before finally ending up in packaging. It's a strict one-way street. The whole goal here is to stop any backward flow of dirty materials or unapproved packaging from sneaking back into your clean manufacturing zones.
As the auditor walks through these clearly signed zones, they are hunting for one overarching rule. Nothing is improvised. Every single door has a reason for being there. Waste, for instance, can't just be wheeled out the front door right through the clean manufacturing flow. No way. It has to exit through a dedicated, segregated waste corridor. Everything is deliberate, and nothing is left to chance or common sense.
Along this walk, the auditor is looking through a very specific lens. They're checking for posted floor plans right at the entryways to confirm those material and personnel flows. They don't just want some generic cleaning log either. They want per-equipment logs with specific operator signatures. They're scanning for current calibration stickers on scales, checking your preventive maintenance records to prove you don't just wait for things to break before fixing them, and you better believe they'll be asking for those pest control logs to ensure zero activity in the production zones.
Which brings us to Section 3, mastering equipment controls.
Because listen, even the most perfectly designed room is totally useless if the machinery inside isn't strictly controlled. You have to prove your equipment is qualified for its intended use, and that's cleanly broken down into 3 phases. First is installation qualification, or IQ. Is the equipment installed exactly to spec with the right utilities connected? Then there's operational qualification, OQ. Does it operate as specified across its required ranges? Like, can it hit the right speeds and temperatures while empty? Finally, performance qualification, or PQ. This tests reality. Does it perform consistently under real production conditions with the actual cosmetic product? You need solid documented evidence for all 3.
And that brings us to a massive pitfall with equipment: cleaning. We absolutely have to distinguish between a simple visual scan and a scientifically verified clean. Just saying it looks clean doesn't cut it. True verified cleaning requires visual checks combined with hard science, using swabs, analyzing rinse water, or running ATP tests to actually prove that product and chemical residues are 100% gone.
Now for Section 4, the cracked floor dilemma.
Let's put all this into practice with a high-stakes, real-world scenario. Imagine your main filling line floor suddenly develops hairline cracks. A proper repair is going to require a full 3-day shutdown of the line. So, what do? Do you push production through, or do you shut down for a proper repair?
In the real world, commercial pressure is incredibly heavy. Demand is high, quotas need to be met, and the immediate pressure is going to push you to simply epoxy over the cracks, patch it up quickly over the weekend, cross your fingers, and just keep the lines running. It's definitely the path of least resistance.
But the auditor's guidance here is uncompromising. You have to choose shutdown and proper repair. Why? Because a cracked floor inherently harbors microbial contamination. It becomes fundamentally uncleanable, which means all those verified cleaning protocols we just talked about are suddenly useless. Plus, a quick patch job is highly visible within weeks, and an auditor will flag it immediately. You have to take the downtime, document the repair, and requalify the cleaning afterward. Safety has to override temporary convenience.
Finally, Section 5, Top Audit Traps Avoided.
You can really stay ahead of the curve by dodging these common risks. First, uncontrolled zones, like staff walking backward from a dirty packaging area into a clean mixing zone without regowning. Second, having wooden pallets anywhere in production. Just don't do it. Third, relying on critical measurement devices that have overdue calibration stickers. Remember, no sticker means it is not in service. Fourth, having a pest control contract but never actually reviewing the logs. And lastly, forgotten environmental monitors. Don't be the facility that sets up temperature sensors and then ignores them until the auditor asks for the data.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to ask yourself, does your physical environment truly reflect an uncompromising commitment to consumer safety? Or are you secretly relying on a mountain of extra SOPs to hide the flaws of a bad layout? In cosmetics manufacturing, your physical space is your first and your absolute most relentless line of defense. Definitely keep that in mind the next time you walk your factory floor. Thanks for joining me.